What's your name?
My name is Tsvatam.
Pratham.
Yeah.
My name is Kay. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What are you doing here in Thailand?
I was here on the 21st of April 2024. I started on a trip from Bulgaria, from Europe,
Yeah.
on this bike, Honda CRF 300. So I've been traveling since then, and my aim is to reach Malaysia. And when I reach Malaysia, I plan to ship the bike back home in Europe, and I to fly back. Actually, the initial plan was when I go to Malaysia to ship to South America, right to Alaska, and come back to Europe. But because I met a girl on the way, my plans changed a little
Falling
bit.
in
So
love.
yeah.
Love story.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more of your journey, like how you started and how long you've been riding? Like, how many years have you been riding, and how long did this trip take from where you started till where you are now? Like, how long has it been, basically?
Yeah. So on 21st of April, I started with 12,500 kilometers on the bike. So now it's almost from home, from Sofia in Bulgaria to here, it's about 40,000 kilometers to reach Bangkok. I've been through Georgia, Armenia, Iran, all the STAN countries, Russia, Mongolia, only off-road about 4,000 kilometers from Russian border to Ulaanbaatar, then whole of China, Laos, and now I did most of North Thailand, and I'm going down south to Malaysia, actually. So yeah.
Is Malaysia where you're gonna end your trip?
Yeah, for now that's the plan, in Kuala Lumpur to board the bike and to ship it back home.
Ship it back home all the way to Bulgaria.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
And may I ask, like, a lot of people might ask the same question as me, like, does this kind of trip cost a lot of money? Is it expensive? And like, what budget?
Yeah.
What's the budget for it?
Well, that's a really good question. And from day one, when I started the trip, I wanted to track every single expense that I got on the trip.
Yeah.
So I have, because I used to be software engineer for 7 years,
Yeah.
and I'm very data oriented. I love pie charts, I love statistics and so on. So I can say that up to this day, even if I buy a small mineral water, it goes into my expenses.
Wow.
And I can immediately open the charts and tell you for each country how much it costs. So total costs, excluding Thailand, so from Bulgaria to Thailand, this includes Laos, all the countries to Laos included, it's about $9,000. A very good estimate when traveling my road from Bulgaria to Malaysia is $50 per day. If you have this sum in mind, you'll be on a very comfortable, even on some places on the luxurious side.
Yeah.
For example, now when I stay in Bangkok, I prefer hostels because they're cheap. So I pay about $10 for accommodation, maybe about $20 for food. So pretty much I almost always fit into this $50 a day budget.
That doesn't include the bike and all the modifications you've done, obviously.
Yeah. So I spent about 6,000 US in modifications on the bike, and then about 2,500 US for visas for the China tour, because it's not possible for me to go alone in China. So basically, these things also add up. But the 9,000 I'm talking, this includes food, accommodation, gas, and sightseeing.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what would you say your biggest challenges were during this trip from Bulgaria, going through all the countries? Like, let's say, what were the challenges that you faced?
Well, one of the things is that border crossings, they're quite complicated. And one thing I'll say straight away, if you don't like logistics, don't go on trip. Because 60% of my time is in front of my phone or laptop, just thinking about how to organize the logistics. For example, now I'm organizing the logistics for the shipping bike back home. Yeah. There are options for air, for ship, and so on. But the most difficult parts were exactly a border crossing. And the thing is, when you travel like this, many people, they tell you, oh, this country is dangerous, Iran is dangerous, Russia is dangerous, and so on. But actually, you find out that there are good people everywhere. And for example, in Iran, there were some of the most hospitable people. And the biggest risk there in Iran, I was drinking too much tea. I stop and they say, oh, you come with our family, with our cousins, and so on. So yeah.
So there's that stigma out there in the world where they say the Middle East might be a bit more scarier than what it actually is.
Exactly.
But in reality, it's a very welcoming place.
Yeah. And this is the thing that when news they portray one picture, of the places, but people are people everywhere, and especially when they see you're a traveler on a bike alone, you're with all the gear, you're all sweaty, they say, okay, I mean, they just want to help you, like, they're very sincere.
What would you say your most favorite country was?
So it's difficult for me to say which was the most favorite, because it has all kinds of characteristics. For example, Iran, I like it because people were so hospitable. Kyrgyzstan was one of the most amazing countries for off-roading, because every 50 kilometers the landscape changes. It has like crazy mountains, like 2,500 meters more you go off-roading, it's crazy. Also in Mongolia, because it's the most sparsely populated country, you don't see anybody for days. You're riding and 300 kilometers around you, there is absolutely nobody. So I had camping gear, I was cooking myself and so on. For me as well, China was crazy because it's like they built infrastructure from the future. Everything there is so advanced compared to Europe, I think. So yeah, each country gives you something, but it's very hard to say which one is the top one.
And I remember we were talking, you spoke about how you crashed. So can you tell us more about like how that like kind of went down and like the issues you kind of faced with that crash?
So the thing is that I've been off-roading, I mean, I've been riding bikes for many years and never did I had a serious crash. But now on this trip I had, it was in Eurasia near the border with Mongolia. The problem was is that the previous night I slept about 4 hours, so I was quite tired. And when I was riding for 350 kilometers in the night, when I arrived in the evening, I decided to go sightseeing and then go down on a dirt track. But my mind was somewhere else. The off-road was absolutely basic, nothing challenging. It's just, how to say, like for where cars go. It's normal. But I was controlling the bike, missed a curve, and just by luck there was a ditch. So the bike went into the ditch for split seconds. I'm flying over the bars and I landed in the ditch like a carrot on my head. And then the bike hit me. Fell over me. So at this point, I was lying on the ditch and I was worried that I was 100% sure I broke something, either rib or shoulder and something. So it took me a couple of minutes to move everything to realize that all is good, that there's nothing broken. But still I was worried to take the bike out the ditch myself. So there was a local guy who helped me take it out. And the bike started from the first time. The only thing is that I bent the rally tower, but apart from this, there were no damages on me. I was quite lucky, and to be honest, one of the things that I will say it straight away, I could have died hundreds of times on this trip, because I had so many close calls on head collisions. It's incredible. I mean.
Well, speaking of that, like in regards to injuries and accidents, like how do you deal with that? Like, because you're alone, right, in the trip. Like, how are you facing with these injuries? Or if you get an accident, who are you gonna call, and who's there to help you? Like, do you have a plan for that? What do you plan for that kind of incident?
So that's a very good question. The thing that I did before I went on the trip, I went to a medical training for first aid, to be able to help for extreme sports, to be able to help yourself in something like you have severe bleeding, you have something broken, so you can immediately help yourself before actually some help arrives. But the thing that I have, like a security major, I have the navigation which has in-reach capabilities. So if I fall down, I press the button and then they can locate where I am, and then they can send help. Also, the thing is that on all of my social media, I have shared the link with my location. It has 2-minute interval. So if for some reason people or my family or friends, they see I'm not moving for a while, they can see that something happened. Also, I have a lot of medicaments with me for all kinds of situations. So yeah, I mean, that's how it is. And the thing is that the best prevention is just to adjust the risk, because in the beginning I like to do very crazy stuff. In Georgia it was May, and one of the roads just opened, which is very high in the mountains. It had snow, it had mud, and I was the first person to go into this road with a bike, and it's known for landslides killing people all the time. So this was quite risky, and I was quite okay this time. But now coming to here in Thailand, in Laos, I don't do things just for the risk. For example, I wanted to do the jungle through Kanchanburi.
Yeah.
But many people told me it's super dangerous, don't do it.
Yeah.
I said, okay, maybe it's not worth it really to do it. Yeah. I mean, I don't try to do everything at all costs possible.
I see.
Yeah.
So you just take it easy.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how would you say this bike has stood up so far over like the amount of kilometers that you did?
Yeah, so I cannot be more happy with the bike actually. So this is the Honda CRF 300cc. As I said, now the bike has 51,000 kilometers. I didn't have a single failure with the bike. It doesn't consume oil. I change it every 6,000 kilometers. And also it's very economical. And the thing is that you know, when people do remap on bikes, sometimes you require a certain octane. And on purpose I didn't want to do it because in Iran I had 85 octane. In Tajikistan they were shipping me from jars. I mean, this bike has been through such a bad fuel and it has stood very well. And I'm really happy that I chose the smaller bike because, as we were talking a little bit before, I also have a bigger Africa Twin 1000cc. And if I was with my Africa Twin, with my bigger bike, I wouldn't go even to 50% of the places I was with the smaller one. Because when traveling, you don't want to go fast, you want to go everywhere. Yeah. And this bike is the best for it.
You want to enjoy the journey rather than getting to somewhere fast.
Yeah.
Because you want to take your time and watch the views and see all that stuff. And I think this bike's a great bike to go through that. And I see a lot of people out there that would say, oh no, you can only do it on a GS or you have to do it on an adventure bike. Like, what are your thoughts with that? Like,
well, as I said, the bigger bike comes, it's more complicated, parts are much more expensive, so it's hard to find them in Mongolia, somewhere else, because this is quite universal. I mean, it shares parts with many other Honda models. I mean, the bearings, everything is like standard, you can find them easily. But yeah, I mean, how to say, for me this is the most optimal choice. And because I'm traveling alone, I want to be able, I can pick this up tens of times a day. Whereas with my Africa Twin, if I pick it up 2-3 times, then I'm done. I need a break.
Very true. Very true.
And also the other aspect I think should be mentioned is speed, because bigger bikes, they're super powerful and it's easy to speed with them. And in some situations it's super dangerous to speed, like in Iran, okay, here in Bangkok as well. So if I was having a more powerful motorbike, I would be driving much faster, and this is a very good possibility for more accidents to happen.
So this bike keeps you in check. It just says like, oh, you can't go.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Yeah, I basically almost ride full throttle, and it doesn't go faster than 120. So it has a natural limit, speed limit.
That's good.
Yeah.
And what are your essentials that you carry in your luggage? I notice you have a lot of luggage.
Yeah, so actually I had much more because I had camping gear. So I had camping gear, I had a tent, I had a cooking stove, a sleeping bag, which is good for sleeping in -4 degrees. So the camping gear takes a lot of place. I also have clothes for cold weather, for hot weather, and so on. I always have about 6 liters of water with me. So it's 1.5 liter here, 1.5, and then I have 3 liters in my camelback, because one of the things is when you get dehydrated, you lose focus, and it's dangerous. And as for the tools, I would say I take one wrench to adjust my. No, I'm joking. I mean, because it's been so reliable. But the thing that I have is I have levers to change the tires in case. But funny thing is, up until now, I didn't have a single puncture on my trip for 40,000 kilometers.
Let's keep it that way.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's the other thing aspect of traveling. It's super hard to source and find parts. For me, Thailand is heaven. You guys, you modify everything that has engine, so you have parts for everything. But I changed my tires last time in Kyrgyzstan. So from Kyrgyzstan to Chiang Mai, I was riding with one set of tires, which lasted 22,000 kilometers. And basically, the wires, they popped out on the tire. So every day I was praying that the tire will hold. Also the same with my sprockets, my regional sprockets. When I entered into Mongolia, I mean, you as a mechanic, you'll be terrified. You say you shouldn't drive this anymore 10 kilometers. I ride 4,000 kilometers off-roading with these ones. So they were, every day I was praying for them to hold. But yeah, basically the simpler the bike is, the better. I mean, I would say that I have good mechanical skills, but of course you cannot fix everything on the road.
Yeah. So you have some tools to take care of the stuff here and there, but if there's something big, you kind of have to hold it out until you get to a mechanic.
Yeah.
Kind of have them do everything.
Yeah. Actually, the only breakdown I had was in Turkmenistan, because this is an aftermarket exhaust, and here the welding broke because of the bad roads. And I had only 1 day more to leave the country, so I needed to get this welded. And there I was in a barn surrounded by 11 people. Then comes the welder. Okay, just give it to me. He doesn't remove the wamda sound. He doesn't remove it from the bike. He welded it here in place.
He welded on the bike.
He welded on the bike, yeah. So I said, okay, if something happens like with the wamda sound there, yeah.
Wow, that's brave.
To
weld on the bike, you can risk damaging the ECU as well.
Of course, everything. Yeah, but at this point, I'm risking either he welds it and I continue, or I become a farmer for the rest of my life in Turkmenistan.
So how does that work? Like if you were to be stuck there, like.
Well, I'm happy that I didn't find out, but Turkmenistan is the second most closed country after North Korea. It's like a very hard dictatorship there, and I was on a transit visa, which happens extremely rare to travel around the country without a tour guide. So it was 5 days transit through the desert in Turkmenistan, and I didn't. Even if I had to bring this on my back and bring it to the border, I'll do it.
That's good that you were able to get out of there.
But the Honda OEM parts, everything holds.
So what was like the total distance that you've done, and that you will have to do? So like, what will be the total trip?
The total trip will be, I think, exactly about 50,000 kilometers until I come back home, because I have maybe about 3,000 more until I go to Kuala Lumpur. Then when I ship back to Europe, I'll do like some circles here and there, when I go back home.
And so the last question I'm going to ask you before we let you go, but what would be something you would say to someone who wants to do something like this, and maybe they're scared of like the financial costs, or they're scared of how dangerous it is, like traveling alone? Like what advices, or what would your opinion on that?
So I would say that when you talk with travelers, they will say, I think, the same over and over. This has been, to date, the best decision in my life. I've never been, I have so much stories that it will take me years to process everything, because every single day is something new that happens, and it develops you in a way, because you always you communicate with all kinds of people, you solve logistic problems and so on. So the thing is that, okay, you just set a budget for yourself that is comfortable and so on, and you set off. And then in the beginning, the first 1 or 2 weeks, they will feel scared, you feel insecure, you say, okay, why did I do this? But as time goes on, you get more used to it, and you actually see that people are good and they want to help you. So, and you also get into the in the flow of traveling. So.
That's good. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And we'll take care of your bike for you, and
sure.
We'll have some footage for you on like the servicing, and then have it all cleaned up and nice and looking like new for your trip to Malaysia.
Because that's what I want to do. I want to put it back home. How to say, on
like a stand.
On a stand back at home.
Yeah.
And then keep it secrets from my kids in the future. Like after 5 years, okay, kids. I went with this.
That'd be very interesting.
Let me tell you a story. Sit down and let me tell you a story. So.
And we'd like to also thank you from us and Liquimoli as our sponsor. We'll be giving you a chain lube and a chain cleaner, so that you can last 3,000 kilometers on this chain and continue your journeys.
Thank you. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
All right.